welcome to episode 99 of the Slip and Weight Podcast. I'm here right now with undefeated welterweight prospect, former Olympic captain, Mr. Quinton Randall. Quinton, thanks so much for coming on today, man.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Just do me a favor real quick. I always like to let people introduce themselves in their own words. So let the people know who you are, maybe some of your boxing story and some things about your career.
My name is Quinton Quick Draw Randall, the Alpha Wolf. I started boxing when I had a late start. I've always loved boxing. I've always been into boxing, but I never really got into it until I was 20, about to be 21. And I've been at it ever since. I was captain of the USA team for 2 years, ranked number 1 in the nation for 2 years, number 2 in the continent, number 5 in the world. I played silver medal in the Pan American Games. I've won so many fights internationally over several different countries. As a pro right now, I'm 12-0. I just fought 2 weeks ago. I'm finna fight again in another 2 weeks. So I'm back to back with it. We're going for 13-0. Well, we will be 13-0. And then we're gonna see what other opportunities we have after that.
Well, there's a couple things from there that I want to ask you about, but what was, I guess, the reason for starting boxing as late as you did?
For one, I went to the first boxing gym when I was 13. That probably only lasted a week. My mom felt like boxing was making me fight more, and because I went to the boxing gym because of fighting, and so she felt like it was making me fight more. She didn't understand, and so I didn't get back into it again until I was 20. Yeah, because from the age of 13 all the way up until 17, I was in the streets real bad, and I ended up going to prison when I was 18. And I didn't get out till I was 20. And so when I got out, the first thing I did was walk into the boxing gym, and I never looked back. If I would have never, honestly, if I would have never went to prison, then I don't think I ever would have fully got started. I don't think I've ever dedicated myself to it because I was in the streets heavy. I was out there. I was out there like stop signs. So.
Were you aware at all of Bernard Hopkins' story while you're in that situation?
Oh, yeah. Bernard has always been one of my favorite fighters, even before I even ever went to prison.
Yeah, I just think that your stories, just based on what you're telling me, are very similar because he was obviously, locked up for years and was able to come out of prison and become one of the all-time greats. I always love that story about when he's leaving the guard was like, "I'll see you again," or like said some slick shit to him about like, "I'll see you, you'll be back," or something, and that was always like a motivating thing for him.
Yeah, for me, my motivation was always my son. Like I didn't want to become a statistic. Unfortunately, my father did 10 years in prison when I was a kid, and he got out and he changed his entire life, and he didn't become a statistic either. You can never tell he ever been by the way he lives, his job he has. Like you would never know, and so that was motivation as well. Bernard Hopkins' story was most definitely motivation, but my son has always been. I had to be somebody he looked up to, and I didn't want to be. I didn't want to become a statistic.
So how is it that you went from coming out at 20 and just getting back into boxing to whatever 4 or 5 years later being an Olympic captain? That seems like a real fast track to be on.
Man, I had my first fight in July, August 2020, 2012. I was already 21. I was about to be 22 the next month. And once I had that first fight, because I trained for a year and a half straight before I had any fights. And so once I had that fight, it was just, I've always was fighting. 1 year, I had 35 amateur fights in 1 year. So I was working. I fought in every Olympic qualifier, making it to the semifinals almost every time. I could never just punch my way through. I would make it to the semifinal. So I have 3 or 4 fights, get eliminated right before the finals. And so I start over again. Same thing with Golden Gloves, regular shows here in Houston and Louisiana. So 1 year I had 35 fights. And I think that was like my 3rd year as an amateur. So I was always in the gym. It came to a point to where I lived in the gym. Like I washed my body at a sink in the bathroom. Like we didn't have a stove there. We had a portable little stove that we buy from Walmart. So I cooked my food there. I lived in that gym for at least 6 months to a year. So I had time, but then my awakening, I would say, as a boxer to who I am now, it didn't really come until I won nationals and became number one. And so when I was on the USA team, I got to see so many different styles, just learn more. My whole mind opened, my whole mind changed as far as on the ceiling. Like my expectations was always to the fucking moon, but to get there, I needed that experience, and that was the perfect opportunity for me.
Damn, bro. So you really did just have a crash course. Like you just had a lot of fucking fights and got a lot of experience very quickly and were able to catch up. Cause I mean, talk to me too. Like, who were some of your teammates on the Olympic team? I mean, it's kind of a who's who of boxing today, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jared Anderson, the big baby, the one that's fighting tomorrow night.
It's a
Yeah, he
bad
was
boy.
yeah, I was his team captain. That's like my little brother, like Tiger Johnson. He's fighting on that same card. Uh Troy Isley, Keyshawn Davis, Richard Torres, all the top prospects that Top Rank has right now were all on my team. Every one of them. And so nah, man. I was always big brother to them. I always Duke Reagan. I was always the one who drove him around, took him to the mall, took him to the store, Walmart. I was always one they came to for advice just because I was older. But they didn't know that I was looking up to them as far as their boxing skills went because they was fucking nice. I was like, man, because they had been doing all of them been doing it since they was kids. Here I am, a grown ass man that didn't start really until I'm 21, and so I'm soaking in what I can, watching how good they are. But shit, I fit right in because I was kicking ass and I was winning too.
That's actually a pretty cool combination where it's like they have maybe more in-ring experience, but you have some more life experience. So you both kind of bring that to each other in a way.
Yeah.
What were like some of the biggest lessons that you learned from working with those guys?
Oh man, some of the biggest lessons I learned was that experience was priceless. Traveling the world, going to different countries, building a bond with them. Like we all like brothers now. Like so, it was that experience of fighting different countries. I learned that experience would take you very far. Like, and it's also different strokes for different folks. As far as you after you turn pro, well, when you turn pro, and so some people have a fast pace, some people have a slower pace, some people get signed as an amateur. Some people gotta work for theirs.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing I'd like to ask you too is like I remember getting to see you fight on one of the bubble cards at Top Rank. Um but I guess where is Quinton Randall on all of these cards with all of these young guys from the Olympics and some of these cards where it's like six amateur standouts on one card.
Yeah, man, I was on that card, and nothing ever really came more. I mean, after that, well, with top rank at least, and so I ended up fighting on a Triller card. But before that top rank card, I was already on two PBC cards. So I mean, it ain't been easy as far as getting somebody to back me up, get a promotion or get a major promotional company to back me up. And it's not really my style; it's just my age. And I understood that because they rather younger talent, which is cool with me. That's why I keep whooping these younger talent asses until so I'm gonna make them. I'm gonna make every last one of them for regret passing on me. Every one of them.
Well, shit, bro. I mean, it's a hell of a fucking story. I have good word that you're in camp with Errol Spence. Is that correct?
Yes.
Man, talk to me about that. What has that experience been like for you? And can you speak a little bit to Errol's mindset and where he's at?
I mean, camp is camp. Camp is always hard work. There's always blood, sweat, and tears. I was in camp with Montana Love. I left camp with Montana Love to go be in camp with Errol Spence Jr. And now his mind is sharp. He's ready. He's not hurting to cut weight. He's in there working. And so he's most definitely working hard. So it's gonna be a hell of a fight. I'm looking forward to it.
It is going to be a hell of a fight. It's in a lot of ways, if you aside from all the bullshit, whatever the buys, the numbers, all of the things that don't really matter, it's kind of a generational fight to be like who's the best welterweight in the post Mayweather era.
Yeah, most definitely. It's most definitely a generational fight. This fight gonna tell you everything. We haven't had an undisputed welterweight champion since Zab Judah, and that was in the 3-belt era. We've never had one in the 4-belt era. He's the winner of this fight is going to be the first.
And yeah, it's really special. Do you feel like, because when I watch you, man, like you got a certain level of IQ and intelligence? Because like if you really watch boxing, when I'm watching you, I could see you kind of thinking your way through the fight, the way you're timing your shots and your footwork and everything. Do you feel like that's just from even not having a lot of pro fights or being around boxing that long? Is that ring savvy just come from the wealth of different experiences you've had in the amateurs and in the gym?
Yeah, like one thing my coach has always told me, the coach I have now, Derek Collinsworth, has been the coach I've had since I started. He started me from my fundamentals up. I've always been very calm in the ring. And that's probably a contribute to my street life because I was always having so many street fights that when I was in the boxing ring, I was just always calm. And then I've never watched Bernard Hopkins panic. I never watched Floyd Mayweather panic. And those were the two fighters that I used to always watch. So being calm in the ring just came naturally to me. Came real natural to me. Now I've been in the ring. If you name them, I've been in the ring with them. There's nobody I haven't been in the ring with. Crawford, Earl, Jamel Charlo, Shakur Stevenson's, uh, Jared Hurd, uh, J Rock. I've been in the ring with a lot of them. And so being in the ring with them, gaining experience with them, man, for the last since I've started, since I came out, I've been in the ring with half the people on the pound for pound list. So it doesn't just being calm is all. I've never been in panic mode. I've never had nobody take me there. Nobody ever will take me there. I done been in the ring with some dogs that was on my ass, but I always learned to stay calm.
What do you think are kind of like what makes Crawford and Spence special? Like, why are those two guys going to have this generational fight to decide who's the best? You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of fantastic fighters, but there's always standouts. Like, what makes those guys stand out in your mind?
Well, with Earl is a dog. Earl is gonna bring the fight to you. There is no sitting back. There is no moving around. There is no Floyd Mayweather effect. He's gonna bring the fight to you from round one. Crawford has multiple dimensions to his game. He can sit back and box. He can box and move around the ring. But if you bait him into a fight, he will fight you. And he loves to fight. You hit him, he gonna hit you back. Same thing with Earl. You hit Earl, he gonna hit you back. So typically, this fight has no choice but to give you exactly what you want. It couldn't go any other way because if it goes any other way, it's the fight is going against their self. It's going against their natural instinct. So the fight is going to be amazing. It's going to be fucking epic, and I'm going to be there to watch it.
You gonna be there in person?
Hell yeah, I'm gonna be there.
That'll be a fucking hell of a night to be at, dude. And honestly, how many people can say that they've, had in-ring experience with both guys? I don't even know if they have any common opponents.
The only common opponent is Sean Porter
And now that I think about it, Kell Brook.
and Kell Brook. Yeah.
So they have a couple, but there's not too many guys that can say they've gotten work with both guys.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on I know Boots Ennis is going to fight this guy Royman Villa coming up pretty soon. Do you have any thoughts on that fight and kind of where Boots stacks up with those guys?
I think Boots is gonna knock him out. Rasheed Ellis had that fight won. He just got tired. Boots is a whole different type of monster. And so I most definitely think Boots is gonna knock him out. And then after that, I like Boots. I think Boots is right on the cuffs of getting a title shot. But I would love to see him fight Virgil, the winner of Virgil and Stanley Onis, just to fight another elite fighter, just to his equal, or get Keith Thurman in the ring. But I know Keith Thurman is overpricing himself, and Keith Thurman is not fighting nobody unless it's for a title. Like it's either Keith Thurman is I know I'm gonna win, but if I fight you, it's for a world title. Those are the only two ways he's getting in the ring. Is somebody he know he's gonna beat, or he's getting there for a world title. So, and Earl is not giving him a shot. Crawford tried to, but he tried to overprice himself, talking about 10 million. So I think pretty much Keith Thurman is done at the welterweight division. So
That's such a weird thing to me because Keith was like, kind of emerged as the best welterweight after
Yeah, at
Mayweather.
one point he was the man. Yeah. He was the
He
man.
was
He
he
beat
was the guy for
Danny,
half
he
a
beat
minute.
Sean. Yeah, but that ass whooping the Pacquiao kind of changed life for him.
You think that's what it is? I always wondered, like, why do we never fucking see Keith fight? And I know he's had some injuries in the car accident, and there's been other things, but I mean,
I
he's
think once he got married, it kind of like civilized him. Once he got married, it civilized him. That ass whooping the Pacquiao was just icing on the cake for as far as the civilization part goes. But when he got married, he probably lost some of the fight. He probably lost some of the hunger. And he probably lost some of the hunger because you don't never hear him just making demands and just really just showing any type of hunger to get these fights. Like once
yeah,
you've
I
been a
mean, you
world
definitely don't see
champion,
him out in the public.
yeah,
You know,
once you've been a world champion and you don't have that, once you was considered the king of the division and you're no longer the king, and you seeing people fight for undisputed, then shit, I want all that smoke. I want every bit of that, especially if I had a taste of it already. So, and most likely it'll be Keith Thurman versus Ugas, just to match them two. Ugas is coming off the eye injury. Keith Thurman needs a solid, another elite opponent to make his career more irrelevant. So the only thing that makes sense at this Boots is entirely way too dangerous. And I believe Boots will not Keith Thurman out, but Boots is entirely way too dangerous. So, but a fight with Ugas is perfect. So them two may be fighting each other next. And I'm on record saying that, and I wouldn't be surprised like if it does. I fucking knew it. But that's the safest route he could go.
it kind of makes the most sense. They're like a similar generation. They both haven't fought in a minute. They
Same
both
age, around the same age.
both fought Pacquiao.
Both fought
There's a lot
Pacquiao.
of
Yeah.
reasons to do it. And I mean, dude, I think aside from Spence and Crawford, Thurman and Ennis is the fight.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not gonna make sense if Keith doesn't have something. I mean, it's really not gonna make sense if Keith doesn't have a recent fight and demands it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So he act like he don't know who Boots is, but he know exactly who he is.
Yeah, how can you not? I mean,
Yeah.
he's like the fastest guy at welterweight.
He knows exactly who he is.
Have you gotten to work with Boots ever?
No, I watched Boots come up in the amateurs. I watched him and Shakur fight in Philly at the Olympic qualifier, and Boots won outstanding fighter of the tournament. That was the one where Jermaine Ortiz won his weight division, Shakur Stevenson won his, Boots won his. Rolly was there, if I remember correctly. Rolly had got stopped in that tournament, or he got the brakes beat off him. But man, I came up in the amateurs with all them guys. All of them. I just stuck around because I knew I wasn't ready to go pro. I've always been very honest with myself. If I'm not ready to go pro, I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to push it. You can take a loss in amateur and come back. You can't take a loss. It's hard to. It's different when the pros, especially when you ain't got the experience. If you get your ass whooped, they can derail everything. You can put everything on hold. So the Olympic qualifiers, I was there when Shakur was dominating Ruben Villa and all them other guys. I watched Shakur at Golden Glove National. I was in the tournament with Tio. I watched him win Golden Glove Nationals, and then he backdoored and fought in Colorado Springs at his first national tournament. It's his first time fighting with elite men, and he beat the brakes out everybody they put in front of him. He was fighting this dude named Gamez. Gamez was like a knockout artist. Man, Tio made him look like nothing. So I've seen it. I've been around. I've seen it, and hey, I had a chance to fight beside a lot of them guys.
Why did you feel like you weren't ready to go pro? Because you were already at a point where you're fighting like the best amateurs in the world. You're in with the Cuban guy, Ronil Iglesias. You're fighting
No. This wasn't around that time. This was around the time in 2000. This is when Shakur then was still fighting.
Gotcha.
I didn't fight Iglesias until 2017. This is around 2013, 2014.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so yeah, I wasn't ready because I didn't look like them. Like I didn't look as I wasn't trying to imitate nobody's style, but I wasn't as polished as them. I wasn't as sharp as them. And so until I looked like them, I knew I wasn't ready.
That's a cool way of putting it. What do you in this last fight you had? You got the stoppage. I got to see the fight on YouTube. You look good. You look strong. Like, where do you what do you think is the biggest difference for you right now, being able to get stoppages and being able to be this active?
Man, the knockouts will open more doors for me. No, I love the sweet science of boxing. I love boxing a person's ears off for however many rounds the fight goes. Because as the fight goes on, my whole arsenal opens up. I think better. I am better. Like, and that's just because I've always watched Floyd and Bernard Hopkins go long distance, and they was always getting better and better as the round went on. Younger Floyd was knocking people out, but not too much Floyd at 40 and 50 and 47 and 54. So, and Bernard is just bore your ass to death. But I always loved it. It never bored me, but to the casual fan, it was boring. Yeah. And so it was just, I just love this shit. So, but I know at this stage, this generation we're in, I gotta be able to produce knockouts as well, because who they want to pick, the older guy that's boxing around the ring or the younger kid who's knocking people out. So they're gonna want to slide towards the younger kid because there's more attraction for their social media platform. He's gonna bring more fans, and I understand that. So my last fight, all I was thinking about was knockout, and so and for this fight as well, this fight is the same thing. I'm thinking knockout.
Promo this fight you got coming up. When is it? Who do you know anything about the opponent? Who is the opponent, and how can people watch or support what you're doing?
So my next fight is July 15th on the Frank Martin undercard on Showtime. I fight a dude named Willie Jones. I actually know him. We sparred before. We've been in camp. We was in camp together, helping Jamel Charlo getting ready. So this was back in 2019. This was a long time ago. But I actually just recently helped him get ready for his last fight. Me and him sparred probably once or twice. I helped him get ready for his last fight. He got the win. He knocked the dude out. That was 10-0. I was excited as hell for him. And so I was kind of surprised he accepted the fight with me. So he don't believe, so I'm gonna make him a believer.
And the fight will be televised on Showtime?
Yes. As of right now, that's the plan. Now, if it changes, it's gonna probably be on Showtime's YouTube page. But as of right now, it is supposed to be.
That's a hell of an opportunity, man. I mean, what is that like for you, fighting somebody that you know? I'm sure you've had to do it before, because in the amateurs, everybody's kind of fighting everybody. But what is that? Have you had to do that in the pros?
No, not in the pros. It's not like anything. I don't consider him family. It's a dude that I know, that I wanted to see win because we trained together before. So I just wanted to genuinely see him win. But when you're standing in my way from all my dreams, goals, and by any means, you got to go.
If you win this fight, right? What's the fight in your mind that you'd like to have that would kind of get you in the mix?
When I win this fight, it's a lot of guys that's in front of me that's on the Showtime PBC stable. They have all the welterweights. So if I can't, of course, they won't let me jump up the ladder like that. So I would love to fight Blair Cobb, just because he's higher than me in the ranking. I would love to fight Jose Cito Lopez. He's above me in the rankings. Jermaine Ortiz is in front. It's a whole bunch of fighters that I do not believe in. Paul Crow, he's undefeated out of Philly. Any fighter that's above me, any fighter that's higher than me in the rankings, I'm not too much interested in fighting anybody that's behind me. Any fighter that is above me in the rankings, I want to fight him.
I think all of those fights are super interesting, man. I mean, I think Blair is obviously a character, but all of the guys you just mentioned, I think, Josecito Lopez is a very, very exciting fighter. A lot of experience. A lot of the fans know who he is. That's a great fight.
Yeah, I think it is too. It's like, man, there's nobody in front of me. It's just half the guys can't remember their damn names. I just can't think of it off the top. But there's nobody in front of me that I look at and be like, okay, we'll pass on him. We'll get him later. Now, fuck that. I want him now.
Well, I guess the last thing I'll ask you is, who do you think wins between Virgil and Stanionis? That's a hell of a fight at welterweight. Two of the best young guys out right now.
That has the potential to be the fight of the year. Based off their two styles, and how Virgil fights. Both of these guys had so many damn different injuries and health conditions, and this fight been postponed 3 or 4 times. So you don't know what version of who you're going to get. Like we don't know how healthy either fighter is going to be. But if they both come into the ring 100%, I'm gonna ride with Virgil. But Stanionis ain't nothing to play with either.
Big strong guy, dude.
Yeah, and he's consistent behind the jab. So I will, man. It's a toss up, but I'm gonna ride with Virgil because he's from Texas, and I'm may the best man win though.
I like Virgil a lot, man. I think he's one of the best out there. But when I saw, and I've talked about it on this show before, but when I saw the condition he has had now twice, it's like a kidney disease that you get from overtraining. And in my mind, that was like immediately a red flag because it's like if that's what your body's going through to get down to your weight class, I mean, it sounds like he's kind of putting himself in danger almost. And as much as I think he's incredibly talented, I just wonder, like, can he make this weight and be the best version of himself, you know?
Yeah, that's always going to be a question because one thing you don't want to do is half the fighters already kill themselves to make the weight, but it's okay if we can get 100% of ourselves. If you can't get 100% of yourself, then shit. Ain't no point in doing it. I'd rather move up. But him moving up to 54 is where the bigger punches at. That probably don't sit too well with him either. So
there's a picture of him and Brian Castano after they sparred together. Castano's up at junior middleweight. He fought Charlo twice.
Yeah.
They're standing next to each other. Virgil's a much bigger guy than Castano, like naturally. Neither of them are in like weight cut mode, so they're more their own natural size. And fucking Virgil's standing next to Castano, and he's definitely bigger.
Man, I would hate to see him lose before he realizes going up is the best move for him. And then your value kind of decreases and all that shit. Like, so that'll suck. So hopefully they probably have a better nutritionist this time around because the food is always important. When you have a nutritionist, Earl was doing that shit on his own for a while until he got a nutrition. He said it made it so much easier. Regis was doing the same thing till he got a nutritionist. So, and now they're having a much easier time making the weight. So I use Perfecting Athletes, same people. I think Crawford uses them, Shakur uses them, Michaela uses them, Carissa uses them. They work with a lot of different athletes, and they're fucking dope. So that's who I use. If I ever ran into any snags, any complications, they know exactly what to do, and I feel strong in my fights.
Well, shit, bro. Is there anyone, anything, anywhere that you want to shout out before we wrap this one up?
Man, shout out to Errol Spence Jr., Showtime for having me on the card. Perfecting Athletes for keeping my body right, keeping me hydrated and fueled up. My coach Derek Collinsworth. So, man, to then, man, it's to the fucking moon. Like, just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. It's gonna be a very good year for me. It's gonna be a very interesting year. It's gonna be a breakout year.
Well, shit, dude. Quinton Randall fighting on Showtime July 15th. I really appreciate your time today, bro. I think you're a really talented fighter and you're a very underrated fighter. And I hope that the fans catch on sooner than later. Thanks for coming on today, bro.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.